other types of due diligence. Along with a lot of other types of due diligences, like you can say your operational due diligence, tax, legal, payroll, all of those things. And yeah, so then what happens is, if I could go into a bit of what exactly financial due diligence helps in. So basically, it may not be possible for one firm to do a due diligence for both the sides, right? I mean, because of obvious conflict of interest. But so it ends up getting bifurcated into two types of due diligence. One is on the buy side and one is on the sell side, which is obviously the same thing. If we are advising the investor and the investor's investment bank, it would be called a buy side due diligence. And if we are assisting the investee and the investee's investment banker, it would be a sell side diligence. And throughout our interaction, like of the actual work that we do, we interact with depending on what type of due diligence we are doing. So yeah, Arag, would you like to pitch in with a few points?
I think you're in.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah, hi, we can hear you.
Yeah. So as Mithila explained, mergers and acquisition is like the current scenario of the Indian economy, to be honest. So what happens in financial due diligence is, so when the investor wants to invest in a company, he'll do a numerous type of due diligence, like tax due diligence, legal due diligence, tech due diligence, HR due diligence, and then the financial due diligence. Where we come from is we do the due diligence of the financial statements, basically the income statement, balance sheet, and the cash flow statement. So what happens in the financial due diligence is, we need to give all the aspects. So like, what is the from all the we need to give all the aspects, like what my financial statement shows, or what is the current scenario, as well as the, so first we decide the coverage period. So basically it could be 2 years, 3 years, or a 4 year max it could go to 4 years, my financial statements due diligence. And secondly, for due diligence, we also see what benchmark the investor is looking into. Supposing the investor wants to invest into a sector which is my financial sector, so he'll choose a benchmark. The investment banker will choose a benchmark to value the company. So we, as a financial due diligence expert, give a comfort on this benchmark. So for explaining the benchmarks could be your EBITDA, that is your earning before interest, depreciation, and taxes, your net worth, your net debt, your equity share capital. As you might have heard, like, when you were giving your financial final CA exam, in SFM we had sums called in SFM we had a chapter known as corporate valuation. In that chapter we had sums like company, we used to value the company on the basis of the cash flow. But during carrying out the value before carrying out the valuation, we used to do a normalization adjustment. So what we used to do is, we used to add or less the abnormal cost or the one time cost, and we used to arrive at an adjusted EBITDA. Hello, Tarak, I request you to go on mute. Hello. Yeah. So like in CA final examinations, SFM paper, how we used to adjust this particular factor. Suppose, for example, a company has incurred an extraordinary profit in one particular year. This profit belongs to that particular year only, and it is not expected to continue in future. So hence, we used to pass a normalization entry. This is what we do in order to normalize our EBITDA. What we want to give the investment banker is a benchmark, a comfort on the benchmark. So we normalize that benchmark. That benchmark should be EBITDA, your net worth, your net debt, or your equity share capital, on the basis of which a valuation is done. So now I jump on to the income statement, what normalization we do on the income statement entries. So first of all, in the income statement, you do have we have the revenue as well as the expenses. So for the revenue part, what we do is we do the trend analysis. What is the trend in the what has been the trend in the past 3 years or 2 years, whatever could be the coverage period. For the trend analysis, we also identify what are the top 10 customers. This we do to understand the concentration. So basically, what could happen is 90% of my revenue is coming from top 10 customers. So supposing if 2 or 3 customers leave my organization, they move to my competitors, my business is done. I'm not getting any revenue. So this poses a concentration risk for the entity. What we do is we analyze the trend analysis as well. So how has my revenue moved from quarter on quarter, month on month? This shows me the trend, like how my revenue has gone. So is it in a growth stage or is it in a like declining stage? I could get a sense how my revenue is running over the period of time, over my coverage period. Next could be your expense. When we come to the expense side, we also do the trend analysis on a basic trend. Key, what are the key expenses item? Like for how much percent of my total, basically my operating ratios is what I'm looking at. So this is what we do. And for expenses also, we do a trend analysis, basic trend analysis, like how my expenses have moved over the period of over the coverage period, and are my expenses in line with the revenue. Like has the revenue been so if my revenue is increasing by 10%, are my expenses increased by that much amount, or it is or if there's no correlation between that. If there's a correlation, we could understand that this is normal in business. If there's no correlation, we deep dive into it, why there is a lesser expense or a greater expense to this thing. Now we move to the balance sheet statement. Mithila, would you like to take the balance sheet?
Yes, surely.
Yeah.
So in terms of the balance sheet, like a very simple example that I can give that everyone will be able to relate to is the debtors aging and creditors aging analysis that we usually do in statutory audit. So, like from a simple statutory audit perspective, what we do is we get the schedule from the company and we check the invoice dates, the due dates, and we just look at the aging amounts. If the amounts are more than 180 days, we like pass an entry for provision for bad debts, and that's it. The chapter is closed. But when we come to due diligence, we go into the whole aspect of first understanding who are the top customers of the company. What is the receivable days as per the agreement? What is the actual receivable days? And that's how we analyze, okay, so if a particular company has a receivable that is due within 60 days as per the agreement, and if as per the aging report the amount is outstanding for 90 days, we would consider it as, okay, there may be some issue, let's ask the management why is this amount not received. But in statutory audit we would say that, okay, nee, but it's not more than 180 days now, so let the adjustment be, we don't need to pass a provision. So that comes, like, it's a very fundamental shift from statutory audit to due diligence. And that's why most, like, it is preferable like to have a statutory audit background, because these are few things that you will appreciate once you move from statutory audit to due diligence. Like there are certain things which tend to make uh, like, yeah, I mean, the approach to things is more, it is more data driven, it is more analytical, it is not merely a tick in the box, it's not merely a checklist. Like everything can be analyzed in a very different way. And like when you work in a team, so basically the team structure, like if I may digress a bit, the team structure is that usually at an entry level, if you're an associate or an assistant manager, so you would be working with one person above you, like a manager, and then there would be a partner. So what happens is at an initial level, you may not be able to develop the expertise like immediately. It will take some time for you to develop the expertise. But even being in the meeting room, discussing with the clients, listening to different perspectives, it gives you a better appreciation of business itself. So that was one thing that I wanted to bring out. Like there are many more adjustments that stem from a balance sheet. Like mainly, like Arag spoke about the EBITDA adjustments. So there are other two main things that are all that are also looked at. Is one thing that helps in valuation. Like if you start with the EBITDA, you take a multiple of EBITDA. Like I'm sure most of us who have watched Shark Tank, are aware of these things. Like revenue so and so multiple gives you the value of the company. Revenue EBITDA into so and so multiple gives you the value of the company. But what happens next is that once you derive a value of the company, you deduct some amounts, and those amounts are very simple to understand. Like, so basically, there is a concept of net debt. Okay, so if a company already has debt, I would not want to pay that much amount directly. So it becomes a deduction to the value of the company. Similarly, if a company requires an X amount of working capital, okay, I will have to look at it like, okay, if the company requires 100 rupees as working capital, then I will go to and see, okay, do they have 100 rupees of their working capital? Do they need more money? Do they need less money? Why are they not able to meet their target working capital? So those are things which, so you get, so the initial analysis happens from the financial statements, but when you deep dive into things, you have to ask management the questions and really understand what exactly is going on. And another difference that comes in this topic is that in statutory audit, most of us know that we usually approach the finance team for explanations. Like at our level, like in our articleship level, we have mostly only spoken to like maximum financial controller. We have not gone above that. But when you come in due diligence, you get a chance to, at least have be in the same meeting with the CFO, CEO, and all of those things, like directors of the company, the finance heads. So you get a lot of insights about business. You get a lot of insights about business. Um, and if I, yeah,
I'll take it from here, Mithila. So
yeah,
in addition to all of this, we need to get into all the agreements as well. So basically, you need to develop a good reading habit, because as a financial due diligence personnel, we are expected to have an overview or a brief understanding of all the agreement that the company has entered into, which affects the financial statements. So if suppose if we have an agreement with a revenue with a customer, and that customer is a top 10 customer, that if there is a change in the equity share capital of the company, the agreement stands void from that particular time or that particular moment. This would affect our revenue stream a lot. So what we do is we have an understanding of all the revenue of all the key agreements where we have entered with the client and vendors, with the customers, so that we can get an overall comfort over what the things could be in future. Okay, second thing is we need to get a we need to develop a good analytical skills, because our mind should be running in the same manner as it is running at 10 a.m. and as it is running at 10 a.m. It should be and it should run in the same manner as it is running at 10 p.m. as well, because there could not be a shift, because here it's more of analysis rather than ticking in the box. Uh, Due diligence is what I'll say 50% audit, but not a paper audit, but a analytical audit. So you need to have a comfort over the financial statements. You need to have a like know how the numbers are moving. If it affects if it affects one element of a financial statement, the other element you should know where the other entry would sit and how it will affect. So this is all thing, and the most important thing is here there is no materiality concept. So an amount of 1 million could be like we'll deep dive into that amount as well. Just we'll need to understand the nature. We won't see what it is and what we won't deep dive like could it be affecting a financial statement materially. But we need to have an understanding, because the investor expects us to know the financial statement thoroughly. So even if the investor asks me, there's a balance of 20 million of my other financial assets in which others are coming as 1 million, we need to we need to be in a stand like what that other 1 million stands like, what could be the nature and what are the vendors. So this particular thing, there of no materiality concept is very important, and we need to have a clear understanding is what I would like to focus a lot on the diligence part.
yeah, and like to add on to Arag's point, like like some things that you need to carry forward from your statutory audit experience into due diligence is being able to manage data. Like I'm sure most of us have not had the opportunity to do a complete audit, of a private listed entity. Like very few people get the opportunity to do it. And like most of us, like if some of us are in public listed companies, we end up focusing on particular areas. Like, okay, if you are assigned borrowings, you will be doing borrowings. If you're assigned payroll, you'll be doing payroll. So, you tend to have very limited data to, keep an eye on. But in due diligence, like when I explain the team structure, you're the person who has the direct contact with the data. You have to look at all the schedules, you have to look at all the ledgers. So you need to be able to be organized enough to know, like, okay, this is the data I have received today. Have I processed it? What are the points I need to bring forth? Is there anything further that I need to ask from this data? Like I'm sure like it will develop over time. Like, it like the first job immediately you will not be able to grasp things, but you need to keep developing on these points. Second thing that is, that we usually do in start audit, like we, take the ledger and then we compare it with the trial balance. Is it matching? That is your first level reconciliation, which is pretty easy, everyone's done that. But then here the reconciliations happen, like the main reconciliation that happens in due diligence is matching the financial statement revenue and EBITDA with the revenue and EBITDA as per the management information systems. So for those of you who are not aware about management information systems, they are basically reports that are generated to present to the director level, the persons who are making decisions about the business. So what happens is in those reports, it is not really necessary to follow Ind AS, follow accounting standards, follow different, things. Like you just have to say that, okay, this is my revenue, this is my expense, this is my payroll cost, these are the assets I'm using, this is the employee count, this is the number of places I'm operational in. And that's enough because the management knows that, these are the 10 things I need to look at, and that report has those 10 things. But what happens is there could be a fundamental gap between the management information system and the financial statement. Like not from a perspective, I'm not getting into the whole, why they do it, but one basic example that I could give is your revenue recognition standards. Like, in terms of revenue recognition, you may have to follow Ind AS 115. You will follow the specific procedures for that. But for MIS, maybe the management will say that, okay, nee, just show me what is the cash revenue, or show me what is the billed revenue. Don't show me the penalties, don't show me so and so deductions. So, those kind of things. What happens is, like, even when the investor, wants to invest in the company, they may tend to look at the MIS as well. So, you need to make sure that, okay, what is being presented to the government, like the audited financials, versus what is being presented to the management are there, like, they are on the same level, and any differences are reconciled. So that is one thing that is there. And like, just moving on from a bit of, like what exactly we do, this is just one point that I wanted to bring out. Like what type of a personality should you have when you are, if you are planning to get into financial due diligence? Of course, like some of these things can be learned on the job, but these are good to have things. So the first thing is that you should be curious. You should be constantly curious. If someone has told you something, never take it at face value. Like, of course, some things you have to take it at face value. Like if I tell you my name, you will take it at face value. But when you think of it from a due diligence perspective, what is the due diligence you can do? You can go to the MCA website, check the company's name, check the name of the directors. That is the kind of due diligence. Anybody tells you anything, you should have 3 questions ready for it. So that is again an acquired skill. Like even when I started my journey in due diligence, I wasn't very, I was curious, but I didn't know the questions that have to be asked. But once, like I said, once you interact with the like with the partners, managers, and everything, you tend to get an understanding about those things. Secondly, another like very crucial point, like I'm sure all of us have cleared CA, we are very happy about it and everything. And the one thing that we pride ourselves in as CAs is our ability to work with numbers. Like some of us have this very uncanny ability to just remember numbers, like, this expense is this amount this year. And we are very good with that. But there could be one flaw, like that I know, like most of my friends also have told me this, like they are not very, well versed in terms of reading. They don't have a very good reading skill. Like the reading speed, forget skill is okay, but speed is of essence. Like if you are given 100 customer contracts and you are told to create a summary in, like, say 3 hours, how are you going to do it if you are not, you don't know what part of the clause you should pick up, which are the important points, which are important from a financial perspective, what are good to know things, what are things that are standard in a contract. Like once you develop that skill, that is really useful. And the second part of it, like right now we have been talking about how we go through the financial statements and derive all the adjustments and everything. So the thing is, we need to present it in a very concise manner to the investor, or we need to present it to the investee. Like if you're doing a sell side diligence, we need to present it to the investee. So what happens is, in a financial statement, if I just give you a financial statement and ask you to derive insights from it, it will take you time, but you will, when you present it, you will immediately tell them ki, okay, revenue has increased from 10% to so and so, like the trend in the revenue is so and so, the trend in the expenses so and so. So this summarization skill, the summarization skill is very key in a report writing, because like in start audit, our final deliverable is an audit report. In due diligence, our final deliverable is a due diligence report, which doesn't have a standard structure. Like there's no regulation which determines that, okay, first page pe you have to only talk about balance sheet, second page you only have to talk about P&L. There's nothing like that. You can present the data anyhow, however you want it, however you want to grab the attention of the investor. So you need to be able to first of all pick up the points which comes from experience, and even present those points in a way that, okay, the conclusion is hits directly to the reader, like, okay, this is the conclusion of what has been written in the report. So yeah, like
Yeah.
so
So in addition to the point that Mithila had said, so the report, so in TM, my due diligence is very dynamic. It all depends. So basically, if you have performed one procedure in one particular project, it is not necessary that this particular thing will carry on for the next project as well. You need to apply your mind. You need to think differently how you can cover the risk that are evolving that particular entity, and how the entity has used its operation, or how the entity has used its controls to mitigate risk. So every financial statement in audit also we might have learned that there are multiple number of risks that is surrounding financial statements, and how the particular entity has what particular entity has done in order to mitigate those risks. So we need to have a comfort over the numbers. Second thing is report writing. So report writing is a skill, I'll say. The less the numbers, more the chart. This is how it goes, so that the investor can have an overall review. He won't read your all the data that you had written. A particular entity has moved, the revenue has moved from 10% in this year, 20% in this year. If you can show this via a chart or a pie diagram, if in that particular sense, or a line chart or your bridge, it would be very helpful to the investor to grasp things in a more easier as well as quickly, because the investor doesn't give a he doesn't read your report fully. He only carries out his further analysis on the basis of the exact summary that you have prepared. So your exact summary should be so crisp enough that the investor is able to understand 90% of your report. So hence your PowerPoint skills, your report writing skills should be at the top notch. This you will learn going forward in with FDD, but have an added advantage. Start practicing PowerPoint, because we don't use PowerPoints during our articleship, and this is where I also face some difficulty in my interviews and my this starting 1 month to 1 or 2 months of my FDD experience. So this particular experience I would like to share, which I had a better experience in my first 2 months of my FDD project. Secondly is I would like to talk about how to prepare for an FDD interview. Like what are the aspects to be, what are the aspects we should focus on? See, they know you have not done FDD in your articleship. So what they will expect is whatever you have done in your articleship, you should know it thoroughly. From first year to third year, you should know everything. Whether it's a small thing in regard to the other expenses schedule, to revenue, as well as to the balance sheet schedule. You should know everything. Secondly, what they will expect you is your financial ratios. You should have a thorough knowledge of the ratios, like what the ratio is, what it speaks about, and what it can do, like how it can help us to identify if there are any anomalies, or whether if there are any, not a the ratios also help you to identify the mistakes, by the way, in the financial statement. So this is also a thing you should keep your mind on, and you should have a grasp, or you have a control over the ratios as well. Thirdly is the Excel numbers. I have been focusing on Excel financial numbers. I have been focusing on financial numbers for the third time because it's very important. Your manager, your senior manager would expect you to know your financial statement in and out. Like if you are changing one number, you should know what all other numbers are dependent on this particular number. So financial having a thorough knowledge of thorough understanding of the financial statement is very, very important. And the last thing is your Excel and PPT. Excel skills, what we have learned in your articleship is like 50% of what you will use in FDD. You will learn a lot in FDD. Lot of analysis is done using using Microsoft Excel. So you should have a good knowledge of Excel. In my interview in FDD, there was an Excel round. So you should have a good knowledge of what kind of what tools we can use in order to carry out the analysis. Over to you, Mithila.
So, Mansi, if I could just ask you to mute, I'm sorry. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So yes, so another, like the interview points that Arag mentioned are really helpful. Like, if you are asked a case study, like an Excel based case study, you need to practice for that. Like if you don't have experience of reading an entire financial statement in articleship, which tends to happen because we are busy doing the like note referencing and checking whether the amounts are matching and everything, we don't really get time to actually read what is in the report. So make sure that at least the client that you have worked on in audit, read their financial statements. If you wanted to invest in the company, what are the things you would look at? What research would you do other than the financial statements? Like what kind of data would you go to Google for? Like would you compare the industry, would you compare this company with the other competitors in the same industry? How are you going to compare? Are they even comparable? Though, like when you start thinking on those lines, it really helps. And another thing that that may come up in interviews is your ability to link non-financial information with financial information. So like we have done this in SFM, like we do all those kind of ratios, and that's a very basic level. Here it goes to a completely advanced approach. So say for example, you are asked in an interview that how are you going to verify uh, what like how are you going to verify whether the employees on your payroll actually exist? Okay. And like this is from my personal experience. Like I was asked this question, and since I had not been in touch with payroll in my articleship, I was stumped, so I didn't know what to answer. So then, like, I thought that, okay, there will be some data on the payroll register through which you will be able to validate it. And that, tends to be the answer, that people will see that, okay, we will check whether the UAN column is plotted, like the Provident Fund UAN amount, UAN number, those kind of things. But again, like, if you think of it practically, if there are 1,000 employees in your payroll register, how are you going to verify the UAN for all those employees? I mean, it's not possible, and it's not even expected of you. Like, how are you going to verify it? So another a different way of looking at it is that, like, in a non-COVID situation where work from home is the thing now, but in a pre-COVID situation, people used to go to the office. So like every office has a set number of desk space. Like say for example, each floor has 100 desks. So and there are two floors. Like the rental agreement says that okay, there are two floors for this company. Then you can just have a look at it like, okay, so two floors, 100 tests, that means 200 people. Okay, if people squeeze in, you bring some extra chairs or something, 300 people at the max. But if in the same company you see that there are 1,000 employees, then it is a question mark, like, okay, are we missing out on some lease rental agreement, or are they actually 1,000 employees? So that is the kind of thinking that they may test in the interview. Like how are you able to rationalize financial information by looking at non-financial information? And and again, another thing, like so this is something which, like, a lot of us face in even after working, before working, it's a thing like understanding jargon. Like I'm sure even when you joined articleship, you must have not been able to understand like various things, like people talk about realization rates. Okay, revenue realization rates. But what is a realization rate? Like, you know the term, you've heard of it, but what exactly is it? So if right now, if you are preparing for an interview, or if you are thinking about it, and if you feel ki, okay, I don't know how realization rate is different from unit rate as per agreement, you don't know how that is different, so Google it. Those are the kind of industry jargons. Like, there could be many things that you have seen in your articleship. Read up on those specific things, plus read up on particular jargon of the industry you're interviewing with. Like for FS sector, I'm sure Arag will be able to, like, guide you guys on specific industry jargons. And in TMT, I know that, okay, there is something called a realization rate, there is something called utilization rate. So those are the things. You can even Google them. You can, like, Google KPIs, key performance indicators of the industry you're interviewing with, and that will give you an understanding that, okay, these are the ratios that are important in this industry. How do I calculate these ratios? And that's how you can start preparing for interviews. That is, yeah.
Yeah, and add on to Mithila's point, the industry-specific KPI is very important. So, see, we all know that there are numerous sectors, and you can't memorize or you can't go to all the ratios. So, what you can do is the industry that you have worked upon in your article chip, get the basic knowledge of how the industry functions, what could be the possible KPIs, and what are the KPIs that the investors look. So there could be a difference. So for example, if particular in particular industry, you might be looking at the working capital ratios, and you might like working capital ratios could be of importance, but you might be you think that the balance sheet ratios are important. So understand why you have thought about balance sheet ratios and why working capital ratios the industry thinks that it is important. So first you test yourself and then go to the conclusion. This will help you to develop an analytical mind, and this analytical mind will help you in the end help you in your FDD career, because in FDD all at the end only numbers and analysis matter and nothing else. If even if you are good in accounting but you can't do your analysis properly, then there's no use of of all the accounting knowledge that you have gained. And anything else, Mithila, would you like to contribute?
Like, yeah, like the one thing, like, I would like to, it's like a harsh reality, but in statutory audit, we always know ki, there's a quarter, and 20-25 days after the quarter, the report is going to go like that, like, either like a limited review or a proper quarterly audit report. But here there is nothing like that. Like, there are, like, usually, like, an average deal cycle is 4 to 6 weeks, depending on whether you're on sell side or buy side. So sell side is usually 4 to 6 weeks, and even that may change based on the sector you're in. Like, some sectors, tend to have a longer due diligence process. So though it may extend for 2-3 months, some deals may just get over in 2-3 weeks. You've done the analysis and it's done in 2-3 weeks. So it is very dynamic, and yeah, I could say it is fast paced, but that also means that you will get to learn faster. Compared to doing 4 audits a year, you may end up doing like 6-7 projects in a year, and the learning curve is so much. So that is one benefit of due diligence that I would like to
And
highlight.
to add on, Mithila, the working hours here are very long. It all depends on the project. So basically, if your project is over, you'll have a cool down period for around 2 to 3 days. It's not that it's hectic for all the days of the week, and it will go on till your lifetime whenever till you leave FDD. It's not like that. So the transition period from one project to two project, there's a cool down period of 2 to 3 days, and in during that period you literally have no to zero zero to no work. I'll say no work only because like we are completely free. What we'll do is we'll just research about the company, or the what we'll do is we'll enjoy our time, to be honest, because the 3 days are very cool. So you can adjust that particular thing. And here in FDD, you when you used to do the stat audit of a particular company, supposing I'm from a IFS background, so supposing you're auditing a bank, you have a team of like 10 to 12 people like working tirelessly day, night and day to get a comfort over the financial statements, and this goes on for 2 months. Here, I have a team of 3 people who are working only 2 weeks. So you can understand what kind of work we do, and how quick things happen and what is expected from you. You could understand from the stringent timeline as well as from the workforce. So we don't deep dive into everything, but we have an overall understanding of everything. So this
If
is
I
what
may,
is.
If I
Yeah,
may just bring in one point, like, in CA final, we had this habit of making A, B, C bucketing. Ki ye chapter
sure.
is A category, B category. This is something you will have to, like, it's advanced level of prioritization here. Like Arag said, there is too much data, too few people, too less hours. You need to really prioritize where are you going to find maximum adjustments and, start working on those points. So, yeah.
Yeah, Mithila, I completely agree that. And do you have anything else we like, or we should start this
We can
the
start the
Q&A
Q&A.
session? So
Yes,
guys,
we
what
can
you
start
can
the
do is you
Q&A.
can post all your queries on the chat box and we can address them one by one. We have some and we'll try to address them. Just a second. Okay. So Ashmita Roy, why do we remove cash from net debt? Mithila, see, I'm from a FS background and not very well versed with net debt. Can you answer this?
Um, okay, I'll just give me some time. Can we just move on to the next
Yeah,
question?
sure.
Yeah.
What should we prepare for every TMT interview? So Sachi, see the TMT interview, you can't say it's TMT interview. If you have that particular experience of TMT in your articleship background, then only it would be TMT specific. What you can do is what this question could be, what should we prepare for everyday interview. So as I said earlier, your articleship background, you should know it thoroughly.
I would like to
Yeah,
speak in
sure.
between. Actually, HR called me and they said me especially that that interview will be for TMT sector. So
Okay.
even
Okay.
I had
Okay.
No, no,
questions.
no. So they won't expect you to know everything about TMT, okay?
Right.
Because
And
they
it's
also know.
technology and media telecommunication,
Yeah,
right?
sure. So
Yes.
majorly the startups come here, and I
Okay.
guess Mithila, you are in TMT sector only, right?
Yes. Yes.
So you can
Uh,
connect with Mithila,
yes.
so that this could be very specific. So you can connect with Mithila separately, and we can ask the common questions. What I have understood is they only ask about your articleship background, and questions revolve around that.
Okay, okay.
Okay. Mithila, would you like to contribute anything?
Yeah, so I know someone who was giving a TMT interview, but was asked about, they are asked about the motor vehicle industry. So,
Okay.
so sweet, you need to know specifics, that is for sure. But what the interview is trying to test is that are you able to adapt to a situation? So, if you have already done your articleship in a particular industry or a particular client, then you are expected to know things about that company or that industry. So, they are just trying to test that.
Okay.
Are you able to adapt? Are you able to really deep dive into things? So yes, TMT, you need to know a few things which we can connect later and I can help you with that. But majorly, like Arag said, it's your articleship experience. And coming back to the question that Ashmita had, so basically, we do not remove cash from net debt. We remove borrowings from cash. So basically, if I have like suppose I have 100 rupees in my pocket, but I have to give someone 40 rupees. So if Arag wants to buy my cash, he will give me 60 rupees, right? Why will he give me 40 rupees? Because he has to pay 40 rupees to someone else. So he will pay me only 60 rupees. So that is the type of adjustment that we do. So yeah.
So the next question is from Jairam
Could you
Shetty.
please repeat? I'm sorry to interrupt. Could you please repeat that?
We can connect later if you really want to deep dive into the whole analysis. We can connect later. That's
Okay, sure.
yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
So next question is from Jairam Shetty. What are the exit opportunities from FDD? First, let's get into FDD, then we can talk about it.
Exactly.
But yeah. Jokes apart. So there are a lot of opportunities. IB is one, PE firms are one, VC firms are there. And then if you don't want to go into consultancy, then there's industry side where you have FP&A as a profile, you have MIS as a profile. People usually think MIS is not a good field, but personally, and MIS personnel is more more confident of becoming a CEO than a person from a finance or accounting background. So yeah,
And just one point that I would like to pitch in, like not related to exit opportunities, but like many people I know who are in FDD also tend to think of CFA as a possible opportunity in terms of education. Like what do they want to study further? So if you are interested in CFA, you if you want to, think of, going like you after struggling so much in CA, if you still feel, nay, I want to struggle again and do CFA, then this is like another qualification that is there. So
sure. Can stat audit background give you entry in FDD? It is the only entry possible. Stat audit is the only entry possible. So yeah, it is the best field because I just like I told before, it's 50% audit without paper. Hitali, yeah. Rohit, can you list down the top firms of FDD in terms of CTC? But that could be very. So, to be honest, all big fours are like in the same level. All boutique firms are on the same level. If you want to have a like deeper knowledge about what is, you can Google about it. Mithila, would you like to add anything?
Like I think some of the due diligence profiles for boutique firms also come for campus placement. At least I think that's what happened for my attempt. So maybe even that could give a idea about it. So yeah.
Okay, so Peter Parker, sorry. Can a person with tax background go to FDD? Uh, See, nothing is impossible in this world. I had a friend whose friend was in FDD and he had done his articleship from KPMG tax. So if you can showcast yourself and you can prove that person that I have a good control over the numbers, then why not?
And also for like, for someone with a tax background, there's also another interesting thing called tax due diligence, and they have a proper niche. Like direct tax due diligence is a separate thing, and indirect tax due diligence is a separate thing. So if you are really interested in tax and you really want to, continue with tax, so even that is a possible avenue that could, like, it is very similar to, it's you can get entry into that basically with a tax background.
Sure. Yes, perfect. So when can one expect to be involved in report writing? Do the first project you have is like the first project you take, you're expected to write a report. I know, like even the managers know you'll not be able to write a perfect report, but like they make you write it. And Mithila, would you like to share your experience to it?
Okay, so like in my first project, like I was assigned like a few slides of the report to write on, and I really worked hard and did my best. I thought I did my best, and I submitted it, and then when I saw the report, at the final stages, I realized that not a single line was written. Like it was completely different. So I could have felt dejected. Like it was the first time I wrote, and it got scrapped. And like I'm a good writer. Like I have a blog and everything. Like it could have been an attack to my ego, but what I did was I took my slide, the slide that I had written, and I compared it with the final slide that went. And I tried to understand, okay, this was the focus that I had, which had to be slightly reframed, or this was how it was framed better. So that is one aspect that you can learn from report writing. It's a continuous experience.
Yeah.
Everyone keeps learning every day in report
And
writing.
moreover, you don't know the jargons at the early stage because the financial jargons are needed. Okay, so Aditya, your question, which are the good boutique firms in FDD? Mithila, would you like to say?
I am not really aware. Like I'm just aware of
Okay,
Alvarez and Marshall. That's all.
yeah,
Where
so A&M is there, there's
yeah.
Transaction Square, there's Ambit Capital has also started, I guess, and DShaw has also started, and D say there was another firm, I forgot the name. Duff and Phelps has also started its practice, FDD practice. These are the few firms, and you can Google it. And the best example, like you can, if you want to approach people, go on LinkedIn, message 1,000 people, 10 will reply, and 5 will forward your CVs. Your job is done, boss. Okay. So SV, I want to pursue my career in FDD, but I have no audit background. So can I do stat audit for 1-2 years and then switch my profile? Will this be beneficial? SV, I would like to say that it would be beneficial if you are very keen on joining FDD, but see, audit is also not a bad thing to be in. To be honest, audit has a wider scope, exit options than FDD. No doubt, the FDD fields are niche and it's a high-paying job, and it gives the different status in the financial world. But still, the exit options, there are more exit options in audit as compared to FDD. Okay, Hemant, is FDD profile only for fresher? Mithila, would you like to take it?
So I don't really think it is only for freshers. Like, even if you have some kind of corporate experience, I I mean, it's not only for freshers. Like, I mean, of course, they will look at what experience you have before, and if you tend to join at a later stage, you end up getting bucketed in the same sector. Like, if you have worked in particular company of that and industry, you already know a lot about the sector, so you may end up getting bucketed in that same sector in FTT. So as a fresher, you get that advantage, like, okay, I can, start afresh in terms of the sector. But I think once, your experience tends to pile up, you may end up getting bucketed. That's just my opinion. I don't know for sure. I don't have facts to support this, but that's my opinion of how it
Yeah,
would be.
sure. So Dhruva S has a question: will it be beneficial for a private equity future by initially starting my FDD role? So Dhruva, to be honest, my senior got into PE recently, like 6 months back, 4 months back, and he was in FDD. So it all depends, but if you can, if your ultimate goal is to go into a PE firm, first go for an interview in a PE firm, VC firm, and then jump onto FDD, because now they are taking, now like the scenario 1 or 2 years before was that they were not taking the CAs into their front office or mid office jobs, but now they have started, so let's strive for that. Aditya, how FDD is different than transaction advising? Aditya, transaction advisory is a wider term of FDD. To be honest, FDD is a like FDD is a branch of a transaction advisory. Transaction advisory means there are operations involved, there is HR involved. So FDD is a branch of transaction advisory and nothing different. Rohit, how much Big Four pay? We should talk about it later. So the range is around 10 to 12, and it all depends on how you can negotiate. 12 is the, I don't think so 12 anyone would be paying. It only gets to the rankers, I guess. So it's more or less 9 to 11 for the freshers. Is there same fighting for data etc with the client in FDD as well? No, not that much, because here the client wants to get the funding, or the client wants to get that gets its financial statements done, the due diligence to be done. So there's no much fighting between the client and the FDD team. This is the added benefit. You can, if you if you are looking for benefits. Dhruv, confused between transaction advisory and FDD. Dhruv, your confusion is between the terms, I guess, and both of them are same as far as the knowledge I have. If there could be a difference, and I'm not aware of it. Mithila, are you aware of any difference here?
I think, like, I mean, I think it would be a subset, right? I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
it's a
Subset is
subset.
what I say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Is Protivity good for FDD? I have heard about Protivity, Ashmita, but I don't know. I got no reviews for it. You can search for it on LinkedIn, and you could get a good response. Aditya, should we take FDD, which consult foreign investor and work according to US or UK time zone? Do you have any idea, Mithila, about this question?
I mean, I'm not really understanding, like, why someone would want to work in a different time zone. I mean, you have to work when they are awake,
So
and
basically, they are working back office then.
yeah. So, I mean, you're
And
already
to be
not going to get
honest,
time to sleep.
Aditya, yeah, and to be honest, Aditya, India is the future of M&A. So as per JP's report, is what I can tell you, it could be a market of more than $20 billion. Okay, so Priyanshi, what points in your resume add an advantage to get selected for FDD? As in, what should be kept in mind while making a resume for FDD? Would you like to take it, Mithila?
Okay, so this is something like, like this is, I think this will be a tip for everyone, like people who have a statutory audit background in articleship. Like, I'm sure most of us have written 5 lines about our CV, like we have done cash bank reconciliation, we have done payroll vouching verification, we have done expense testing. But one key thing to understand, like, it's a reality check. Everyone else who's giving the interview has also done that. Okay, at like these are the standard things. If you haven't done it, then there's something wrong. If you have done it, there's nothing great about it. So when you're trying to prepare your resume for an FTD profile, you really need to think about what exactly you have done in your articleship, and how exactly you can demonstrate that you have done some kind of analysis in your articleship period. Like say for example, when I was in articleship, I was assigned revenue area, and I could easily say in my resume that I have done revenue vouching verification, I have read agreements, I have done substantive testing. To make it fancy, I'll just say I've done substantive testing of revenue and invoices. But when I tried to introspect and understand what exactly I've done in my articleship, I realized that I have done something called margin analysis. So margin analysis basically compares the revenue of a customer with the cost that you are incurring to service that customer. So you try to understand the quarterly trends in the margin. Say for example, trends are off. Why are the trends off? So you will ask the client, why are the trends off? So this is something like, if the interviewer sees it in your resume, they will understand, okay, you have demonstrated it at an articleship level. Obviously they know that, at an articleship level you are not getting access to the right people who will give you the right answers, but at least you know where to look and what question to ask. So those are the type of experiences in your articleship that you need to highlight in your resume, instead of just saying that I have so and so, I've done so and so thing in statutory audit which everyone else has done.
And advice, don't write I have done vouching and verification. Use some good like good words about it. Like we can say that I have analyst, like I have like gone through the operational sector and how a company carries out an operation in regards to other expenses or whatever the expense it is. It could be a better way of writing it, and rather than writing vouching and verification. Okay. uh so, Ananya, any idea about FDD manufacturing? Ananya, we both are not from this particular field. So, for that, so it's basically the same. So, what we gave you the overview was in regards to an FDD as a whole, not in relation to any sector. The sector specific, you are not expected, to be honest. You should know what, if you have done, if you are from a manufacturing sector in your articles, you should know what are the key items, what are the key points or what are the key ratios it is affecting. For example, in manufacturing, the stock as well as the data turnover is very, very important, as well as depreciation. So you should know key what ratio should I use. If you don't have the data, how will you get a comfort over the particular number? So there are cases in which the data listing is not given, or the data's aging is not given. So how would you identify that? So the best good possible answer is your data's turnover ratio. You could see a month on month or a quarter on quarter movement, and then we can like cross check from the client key, why is it moved so much. Just giving you an idea of what I have learned in my experience. Rohit, articleship from Big Four in stat audit, an added advantage, boss. So Aditya, do FDD is offered in campus or we should look for off campus? So in my attempt there was no FDD firm. I don't know about other attempts. Mithila, do you have any idea?
I think I'm not very sure like whether I was shortlisted for an FDD role in campus, but I think they may be starting to do that. I mean, would have to look for it. Like if you want to really deep dive into it, like there may be some like the company, like the Big Four, does the service through a different name, like a legal entity. So in the list that comes out for your campus place, maybe you could just check the names. Like that's all I can offer. And just yeah. And I just had one point I forgot. I'll get back if I remember it. Yeah.
Is that going to help me to get into FDD good and good CTC? What, Rohit? Are you
I think
talking
he's
about
continuing from the
the
articleship
articleship
point.
front? So
Huh, huh.
it will give you a preference over others. The CTC remains the same, boss, if you are from Big Four or small size or mid size firm.
Just one point, like I remember the point I wanted to talk about. So basically, see CTC and everything, keeping that at the side, one advantage that I feel like as a person who's coming from Big Four background and going into FTD is that we are already very focused about documentation and presentation. Like we already know that there may be there will be some particular way of presenting, and we have already been struggling through it in the 3 years. So that is just one advantage that Big Four people have. Like that's what I've noticed. That's
Yeah. So what is the criteria the interviewers filter for every role apart from statutory audit? So the basic criteria would be, the first thing is your controls over the numbers and the what you can demonstrate, the controls over the number, how you can demonstrate it through your CV. So if you have a good experience, even if you are from a mid-size, upper mid-size firm, and if you had a good core audit experience in your articleship, so was you are in. Is Alvarez and Marshall good firm? It is a good firm. They only do big, like very heavy or big, I'll say deals. Like they won't do a 10 lakh, 5 lakh deals. They usually deal in a big transaction advisory because they take into another aspect of diligence as well, like your HR diligence as well as your this legal diligence. Okay, Bhavya Kapoor, FDD profile would be better than domestically and not internationally. See, FDD profile is constant. I have done the first client of mine was an international client where I did the diligence of a client based in Ireland. So the practice is the same. It's just that if you are doing domestic diligence, you have a first-hand experience with the senior people. If you are doing a international diligence, you don't have the experience of interacting with the client. You interact with the offshore employees of the particular entity. Ashmita Roy. I saw there are vacancies in Deloitte, but then they are just asking taking big four candidates. So how to get into? Send some good references, bros. Jokes apart, you showcase your skill, yeah, from your CV. I had a 2 to 3 friends who had done their articleship from a small size firm, not a small size, but a lower mid-size firm. But they got into Deloitte or KPMG, FDD, and now they are enjoying a good package. A&M also takes only big four articles. There could be this. Our valuation FDD is similar or connected profiles, they are totally different. FDD supports valuation. Just like I told in the explanation, you need a benchmark to value a company and a multiplier. This multiplier is decided by the benchmark and multiplier is decided by the valuation team. What we do is we give a comfort over this benchmarks, like your EBITDA हो गया, like your net worth, like your equity share capital. This all the benchmarks. This we give comfort over this. Please pardon me. The names of companies hiring for every profile. Prashasti, you can Google it. All the big fours, big fives, and A&M and all that. You can Google it. There are a lot of options available on Google. Deloitte takes even non-big four articles. Yes, I agree. Aditya, do they consider final attempts? Some do. I wouldn't say they don't, but yeah, some do. So, guys, anything else? Apart from Big Four and A&M, what other firms hire? Rohit, I had explained this as well. So there is Big Four, Big Five, like your GT and BDO. Then there's Alvarez and Marshall, Duff and Phelps, DShaw. Okay, Transaction Square has gone up. Like they are hiring people from Big Four for their everyday practice. And you can Google it. You will get a lot of options. Mithila, are you able to see any more questions?
No. That was the
So,
last
guys,
question.
the last count. Do you have any questions? I guess like people have understood what it is. Yeah. Should one go into valuation or FDD? That all depends on you. By interest. So, on what basis should you decide? So, both are niche field. So if you are good into forecasting numbers, then go for valuation. Like if you can predict like not predict, but you can get a comfort over the future numbers. Go for and you are like your future end goal is into modeling. You should go into valuation. And like if you want to work in the past environment and the present environment, FDD is your field.
Just one point I'd like to add here, so considering the whole startup boom and how everyone talks about Udemy courses and everything, business modeling is a good skill to have. Like even in whichever profile you are, it just takes 2 hours to do a course online. do that course. I mean, it may give you a very basic understanding of business modeling, but it's something that everyone can learn. So, if you feel like after learning that course, okay, I still want to get into valuations, then maybe think about it. But after going through that course, if you feel okay, this is sufficient knowledge, I don't want to do anything more than that, then maybe you could consider FTD. Yeah.
Yeah. So, do we have any more questions? The timing in international FD varies as per the client and gets tiring in that aspect. Yeah, Bhavya, the international FBD tiring, you are expected to work as per their standard time. So there could be a mismatch over your daily schedule.
So financial modeling course enhance your insights into FDT role? I don't think so. Like, it will just give you an understanding of what exactly happens after you do a due diligence, but it won't help you per se in your day-to-day job for like the things you do every day in your work.
Okay.
Uh,
So Rohit
and
has a question that does FDD helps into management consultant? Yes, boss, because what a management consultant does is like a 50 to 60% work is related to FDD, and the analysis that you put in as an FDD personnel is same as a management consultant would put in. The only difference could be management consultant would be focusing more on the forecasting part, and you are more busy in your present and past scenarios. But your forecasting depends on the present and past scenarios. So why not? Uh,
Ananya, I think we can connect later if you want to discuss. If you want to discuss more about the EVA interview, we can connect later. Yeah.
so is audit background needed for valuation profile? For valuation, we had a different open house arranged by VCA. I guess you should attend that, and it will give you more clarity over valuation. What is the expected timeline for promotion in FDD role? You can get promoted in 1 year, and you cannot get promoted in 10 years as well. It all depends on how you perform. Oh, one should prioritize valuation over ability to get into management consultant. It's not like that. Valuation can get into management consultant. FDD personnel can also get into management consultant. It all depends on the interest that you have and what you can show them on the table.
Like one general point, like, in general for your career, is that some jobs have transferable skills. Like, say, for example, the skill I was talking about, reading. Like, reading is a very transferable skill. You don't only need it for due diligence, you can need it for different roles. So, what you need to analyze, like, if you're trying to plan your 5-year career, 10-year career, you need to understand which job is going to give you some transferable skills, and that is what you need to look for. Like, obviously you would look for exit options and all, that is completely understandable, but understanding what are the transferable skills, that is also crucial.
So, suggest any courses for initial understanding and roles for FBD. So, I would say get your basics clear, get your get your CV or the articleship experience clear. Work out on your Excel and PPT skills. You are good to go. Rohit, but in valuation we forecast, and that's what management consultant do, as you said. Rohit, it's not like that. You can learn it. If you are willing to do something, you'll learn it. Even a MBA who is into, so supposing for example, I have a friend. She was in FS. Now she joined FS audit. Now she joined business, consumer business in FDD. So there's always a scope for your enhancement, boss. It's not like that you if you have chosen something, it will live with you for all your life. There's always a room for something different. If you can show them, if you can prove them, you are welcome. So nothing else. Mithila, any last words? Like, would you like to give any advice?
uh, just be calm, be cool, collected when you're giving an interview for FTD, because, like, what happens is, in pressure we tend to forget things that are very obvious. Like, you know like you know how to calculate a certain ratio, but when you're in the interview, you may tend to fumble or something. You have worked with those ratios, you've really done well. So whatever you have done in your articleship, spend some time, 3-4 hours, just summarize everything, be thorough with it, and really think about how you're going to present yourself in the interview. Because remember, like everyone who's interviewing for an FDD role has a stat audit background, so you need to show how you are different compared to the others. So those are things like, so with like, just to give a small example, like I mentioned, I like reading, I like writing, and both are things that will help me in my career. So I made it a point to put it in my resume, like, okay, these are the key things that I've done in my life in terms of reading and writing. So there could be various things that you feel would be applicable. So make sure you know what those things are, you highlight them at the right time, and make sure you stand out from the crowd. Yeah, that's all.
And a general advice, whether it's FDD, audit, or tax, don't be like, yeah, I should know everything, I should know everything. Even your partner doesn't know everything. Okay, but so you don't have to be in such a hurry or in such a pressure that I won't be able to succeed. They only test two things: your basic knowledge and your confidence. If you don't know anything, say it upfront, I don't know. Or if you are like, I know it, but it's like partial, to give that caveat at the start only. Be true to yourself, be true to the interview, and I assure you that you will get the job, whatever you're looking for. And if you want, and at the end, if you want to get into something, you'll strive and work hard for it, like you did for your senior final exam. So this is what you have to do. So that's it from our side. So thank you guys, and it was lovely interacting with you.
Thank you, everyone. Like, you made the session interactive. So thank you so much. And I hope you guys took home a lot of points to think about and work on.
And somebody asked for a in LinkedIn profile. Arag, Daga, I don't think so. Anyone would have heard this name. So I am alone. So I'm the first person you'll see. And Mithila, can
Yeah,
you give
Mithila
yours?
Menezes. 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 Mithila
I'll
Menezes.
just put it on the chat box.
Yeah, sure.
Mithila Menezes. And yeah. So this name you can search on LinkedIn and we can connect. And if you have any doubt, so we can connect on LinkedIn. Sure, guys. So all the best and good night.
All the best. Good night. Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.